To Learn is dedicated to one of our past clients. He actually had just passed away last week. We held a celebration of life last night for him. But just a little something about Forrest. He was in our young adult housing program. Forrest was known for his loving and carefree attitude. He was always the funniest in the room, even in the midst of his own struggles with mental health. He found motivation to help others. He made an impact like no other. To love Forrest was to see him for who he truly was. He was brave, kind, and full of humor. He made everyone's life better. Forrest loved art of all kinds, boxes, piercings, tattoos, and the outdoors. He is survived by all who knew him and loved him. This QR code here is a link if you would like to donate a tree to build a forest for Forrest.
As Courtney shared, my name is Diana Leal. I work with EmilysHope in Sioux Falls. A lot of people know EmilysHope as being in Sioux Falls, but a lot of our different programs are expanded as well. So we have, I manage our post-overdose response team, and we have a post-overdose response team that serves Yankton. And then we also have our naloxone box at Avera Sacred Heart. So in the emergency room entrance, you can find that, where you can get naloxone anonymously for free. You just go and grab what you need and no questions asked. That's the goal. So that's there if you need it.
If I may interrupt, is that something that Pathways could get on site?
So I'm not necessarily super involved with our naloxone distribution program, but of course you're always welcome to reach out and request that.
We have some on site.
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at the bare minimum, even if we couldn't get a box, you can always reach out if you want 20, 30 kits. We can help support you that way too. So a little bit about us. This is our mission statement. So we're dedicated to removing the stigma of substance use disorder through awareness, education, prevention, and removing the financial barriers for treatment and recovery. Super quick, is there anyone in this room that hasn't heard of EmilysHope? Anyone new? Just one? Okay, cool. Well, then I will continue. So Angela Kennedy is our founder. She was with Kello for about 30 years. In 2018, she lost her daughter Emily to fentanyl poisoning. She was about 3 days away from an intervention, so this is definitely something that's heartbreaking, that affected her in a way that promoted an opportunity of growth to, continue and support people however we can. And this is Emily, obviously. So a couple of different programs we have at EmilysHope. First off, we have our substance use prevention curriculum. So far we're in, I think we've covered about 3,000 students so far that have received our curriculum. Of course, we're in Minnesota, we're in a couple of different states. The goal is to be everywhere. We want children to have age-appropriate curriculum because education is the goal for prevention, right? That's our best opportunity there. So our curriculum, there is a panel of about 15 different people on a panel in order to complete this or create this curriculum. So there's an online database where there is a bunch of different animations. We have an online platform for teachers. We have a bunch of books for every grade depending on the age. So everything is age appropriate. And then we go into schools and try to get teachers to teach this curriculum. So depending on the age, like I said, it is age appropriate. So obviously when they're super, super little, we're not talking about drugs just yet, but we are starting that foundation for who is a trusted adult in your life, mommy's medication versus candy, stuff like that, just to start to educate them appropriately for their age. And then of course it's built to grow with them. So as they continue to grow and age, the curriculum is relevant to their age group. Prevention Coalition, of course we go to CADCA every year to push our curriculum and just our education in general. We have parent-caregiver workshops every quarter about in Sioux Falls. So our last one was Not My Kid, Understanding Youth Substance Risks and Prevention. That one was great. I had an opportunity to be there for that one. That one was a really good turnout. Of course, like I said, there's legislative push just to find more opportunity to protect our kiddos from different things out in our community. And then in addition to that, we also have groups within Sioux Falls schools. So at the middle school and high schools, a select few for each year is decided upon to create like a youth prevention coalition. So it's like an after-school opportunity for kiddos to learn more about drug prevention and all. And then we have our naloxone distribution program. So of course we give out naloxone. They come in these boxes like that, and there are boxes involved. And then this is what is inside our kit. A lot of people say, well, they just see the outside of the kit, but they don't know what exactly is in it. So I like to include a photo of what you can find in our naloxone kits. They come with 2 doses of naloxone, so the nasal version. And then we also have an opportunity for them to be placed at AEDs. So that's another goal of ours, is to make sure that we have naloxone at all AEDs. It's a big goal, but it's something that we're passionate about. So people can reach out about obtaining naloxone either from our, well, they don't have to reach out to go to our boxes. We have about, I believe it's 35, 36 boxes statewide. So people are always welcome to grab what they need from the boxes. We connect with people that are local and responsible for the box to make sure that they are constantly filled and that what is needed is there. So additionally, we have our fentanyl testing strips. That's something that we give out as well. So anytime that we're tabling, where we're giving out naloxone, any event where we're giving out naloxone hand to hand, you can find fentanyl test strips as well. And then we also can give them to you if you request, and we can get you a set of those if that's an interest. And then we have our treatment scholarship via Bear Addiction Care Center. So far, we provided over $510,000 to over 260 patients, ranging in age from 18 to 71 at the Bear Addiction Care Center. So these are some people that share their experience with receiving our scholarship and how it supported them financially with getting treatment. We understand that finances are a massive barrier for receiving the treatment that you need. And that goes for, of course, more than just addiction. We all know this, but in that way we want to. So like I said, our treatment scholarship has been around since 2019. And every month we're helping people get their treatment, which is rewarding. And then Angela Kennedy, our founder, also has a podcast. This is nationwide. Every week she invites a guest on to discuss different factors about grief or about our substance use or substance use in general. Masters in the drug trade happening in our country and state right now. So just to kind of gain more information for the general public and to push that out so that we're all aware of what's happening. And then we have our online memorial. So it's called More Than Just a Number. This is just a way for us to remember the stories, the faces, something more than just a number, which is what we're used to hearing, right? We're used to hearing the numbers of people that are passing away from substance use and overdose. But it's easy to forget some of our, their stories and their lives and their personalities and the things that they gave to our world. So this is something that we like to have on our website just to honor people. Usually on their birthday, we'll post about them just to kind of, keep their memory alive, pretty much. And we try to just honor them however we can. So when we have events and stuff, you'll usually see a list of people like this, either at a tent of some sort if it's an outdoor event, and then our art show, our gala, and art show and auction, which is coming up in a couple of weeks actually. We do something very special for them as well. Substance Use Loss Support Group. So Angela is a certified grief educator. Once a month, a group of, our current group right now, it's mostly mothers that have lost a child to overdose. That's kind of our general group right now. But of course, anyone is welcome that is going through grief from losing someone with substance use disorder is welcome. These are great. There's always some sort of, we all know what a support group is, but there's always some sort of activity to do together. Just a way to build a coalition of people that understand what you're going through and can support you as well, along the way as well. Not least, our post-overdose response team, which is what I manage. Of course, there's a bunch of different things. I'm gonna go through all of it, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. But these are just some photos. This is a gentleman that went through our court program a couple of years ago. He's doing fabulous, he's doing wonderful. His name's Cameron. He's a new dad, and he's just been doing great with the help of MOUD, so Suboxone, buprenorphine, these different medications that can support people in their recovery. So a little bit about PORT. I'm gonna call it PORT just because I always call it PORT, but that's short for our post-overdose response team. We provide holistic, evidence-based care and support to those that survive an overdose. Following the escalating opioid epidemic, we were established in partnership with the State of South Dakota's Department of Social Services, Department of Behavioral Health. And then some things to know is that this program is completely free for all of the people that we serve. It does not require commitment, so there's no time commitment requirement. And then we are HIPAA compliant, so we do not share any client information with law enforcement. Eligibility requirements, there's 4. Of course, we want to keep them as bare as possible, but in order to stay within our contract, we have to have a couple of things. So ideally the overdose is within 30 days of the referral. So once a client is referred to our PORT program for surviving an overdose, we want to reach them within those first 30 days. Our personal goal with our team is to reach them, depending on the referral, and I'll get into that a little bit later, within about an hour to 48 hours is our personal goal in what we try to reach. The sooner the better. Most of us understand that to some capacity. And then the overdose is not a self-harm attempt. In that case scenario, that should go straight to behavioral health. We are not trained behavioral health technicians, so that goes a little bit above us. And then the client lives in Minnehaha, Lincoln, Coddington, Yankton, Turner, or Brookings County. So these are the counties that we have current teams in. So it's been great to be in Yankton. I've really enjoyed the peer support that I've not collected, but that our team has gained from the Yankton team. It's been really great. Alcohol poisoning on its own is not eligible for the program unless it co-occurs with another drug. So ideally we would be responding to alcohol poisonings as well, but just to kind of stay under the scope of our contract, we do have to have that in place. In this case scenario, we'll get a referral from an emergency department directly. That is through fax. It gets faxed to my phone, and I'll go through it. But then there's also another one where we can just receive referrals online from anyone. Like I said, that's that 30-day mark where people are referring post-discharge, that they're out in our community and they would like support as well. So of course the overdose is going to occur. EMS and law enforcement are notified and they administer naloxone. They're getting them to the ED and then we are notified. We're either notified through a social worker, depending on the healthcare system. Sometimes it's just a nurse, right? Some of our smaller, more rural healthcare systems just have nurses that are staying with them the entire way. They are all aware of how to refer a patient to us. It gets sent to my phone and then I'm reaching out to my peer support for that. My peer support team for that county, wherever that patient is, I'm reaching out to the team that can get there as soon as possible. So the peer supports are going to show up. They're going to have, like I said, within 48 hours. But in the case scenario where it is an overdose and an ED, we're trying to get there before they're discharged, which can be, 2 hours to being admitted. So there's really no guess. I'll usually call up the nurse before I send out a peer support to request a little bit more information on discharge plans, just so that I'm not sending a peer support and no one's there. But luckily for most of the case scenarios, they're there and the peer support's able to connect with them. Our peer support are going to offer resources for treatment. They come with a little bag like that, which I just gave to Kimberly. Inside the bag, there's resources for treatment, there's naloxone, there's fentanyl testing strips. There's a bunch of different things just to help support them in their journey. And then, of course, there's a little letter just explaining how our program works. And then in-person or virtual counseling and guidance. That's an important one from our peer support, so they're supporting them with their next step to recovery. Support for up to 12 months following that referral event. So our peer support specialists, what are they? They are someone with personal experience with substance use disorder. They are in long-term recovery themselves. They provide support and assistance to others going through similar experiences. We offer guidance, empathy, inspiration, hope, reduced stigma, and understanding based off of their own recovery journey. Justin, Sam, Andrea, and then Kimberly. How do you refer if you're not coming from an ED? On our website, under report, you can find this little questionnaire. There's 13 questions. It just gives us it just goes through the eligibility requirements and then gives us some information so that we know who to reach out to. That's pretty much it. But you, as a community member, as a member of an organization, as a loved one, as yourself, can refer someone. So this is open to anyone that would be interested in support following an overdose. A little bit about our naloxone. I showed it earlier, but a lot of people ask about training. It's super, super simple. It's lay, spray, stay. There's a couple of different things. We recommend that people are leaving their naloxone kits in a temperature regulated area. So a lot of people naturally want to put them in their car because you're constantly with your car 90% of the time, right? You always have your car nearby. But super, super hot can affect the medication. It's still a medication. And super, super cold won't affect the medication in the same way where it starts to break it down. But if it's frozen and you need it, you can't necessarily use it, right? So like I said, super, super simple. Every kit comes with 2 doses, so that sometimes, in the case where sometimes one dose isn't gonna produce a response to get that individual breathing again. So sometimes they'll require a second. We always recommend waiting about 2 minutes to see if there's any response, and if there's not, administering the other one. It's ideal to try the other nostril separate from the one that you used the first time, because what's the possibility that something is stuffed up and they weren't able to get it that way. So recommend that. Of course, always calling 911 as soon as possible. But naloxone, in the case of an overdose, is going to be the best chance because it starts working immediately. And then let's say that you are with someone that's non-responsive and you're not sure if it's an overdose. What if it's some sort of stroke or some sort of respiratory distress or a heart attack? Maybe they're just passed out. How do you know? I don't have an answer to that because you never know until they're able to get the support they need. But if you were to give naloxone to somebody that wasn't experiencing a true overdose, it's not going to hurt them. So in the case regarding our boxes, this is where we have them located at the moment. Now, obviously, our boxes are constantly moving, or not moving, but increasing inside, or to new counties. We're constantly expanding our naloxone. So this is just a recent photo, but of course.
This picture actually was recently just taken by Lewis and Clark, as he's part of their program over there, and has been doing such a great job out in the community. He actually was a client of ours, and it actually works for Pathways now. So I'm actually gonna turn the reins over to Jesse. He knows a little bit more in depth about John. So.
When we first met him, he was in our former shelter program that we ran called Night by Night. It was just a check-in, check-out. He coming on a daily basis. When we got him, he was not in a great point in his life. He had a lot of things going on. He kind of felt a little bit angry at the world, and I won't use the words he did when he described himself, but he was just kind of hard to deal with. He was rude to people. We weren't exactly sure how his story would kind of turn out and end from there. And kind of as we continued to stay at the shelter and work with him, one day he just kind of had something change. All of a sudden he started helping out with shelter. He started to be kind of just uplifting other people around him in there, trying to tell, hey, these people can help you, even while being in a similar situation himself. And that was kind of the beginning of what we saw. It was just like a big transformation for him. And he started getting connected with those resources like Lewis and Clark, Lewis and Clark Behavioral Health Services. He started attending AA meetings, NA meetings, regardless of whatever it was. Looking out in the community and wanting to do better and better for himself. Eventually, he moved over to our Tier 2 program. At the time, that was more kind of just like a more longer stay period where they could be here for 30 days and kind of extend them based off the time period from there. And he just continued to excel and excel. And I just really remember one of the conversations because we would just cross paths every now and then. I just want to talk to him about it. And just like, you've changed. Like, if I compare you to the person that you were 6 months ago, I wouldn't even recognize it, of all the strides and how helpful and kind and willing he was able to do to everyone that he kind of crossed. He was always willing to be there for someone and be someone to lean on for him. And just seeing him go from that point in his life to now he has a place to live, he has a great full-time job, and he's constantly still out in the community, still working with people, uplifting him, still wanting to show people the pathway to success and just wanting everyone else to have a better life. I'm really, really proud of him. I don't think there's any other better way that I can describe it. It's just witnessing kind of him coming into our lives in 2024 and then to the point where he's gotten today. I wish I could tell more about his story. He's a great storyteller when it comes to it, but just know he's been someone that's been through it all, has come on the other side with a smile, and is willing to head on back, try to help out others, continue onwards from that.
So I know I've probably had a couple questions on how EmilysHope has tied into the Voices of Homelessness. We get clients in our shelter, even our young adult housing program or our re-entry program that come from various backgrounds. Those that come in, obviously they don't just become homeless for no reason. There are, reasonings behind, such as, opioid usage, or maybe somebody got a cancer diagnosis and couldn't work and, it resulted into, okay, well, I lost my job and I became homeless and now I have nowhere to go. So there's a lot of things that tie into becoming homeless and a lot of benefactors to that. Especially within our Tier 2 family and individual shelter. I talk about the program quite often. I actually just spoke with the VFW this last Friday in terms of our services that we are offering at Pathways, which has been a huge stigma because the programs that we do offer, a lot of people were unaware of all the programs that are offered. So it's not just our emergency shelter, it's also, our young adult housing program where we serve 18 to 24-year-olds, and we actually just hired on a life skills coordinator in terms of being able to teach them how to balance a checkbook or learn how to do laundry, simple tasks that they didn't have the tools before. And then we also have our re-entry program in terms of collaborating with the South Dakota Department of Corrections. We have guys and women that come to Pathways from jail with minor offenses. in terms of trying to get rehabilitated. So they're going out and applying for jobs, they're going out and applying for housing. They're also getting resources from our case managers that help them. More along the side of being there for support. So I love that you have your guys' peer support system. Just like Pathways, our case managers and our advocates are their support team.